It's part 2 of the Legend special for Kamen Rider Gotchard, part 2, and the finale of it all. This is Gather Up Gotchard, I am Boingo Rider, and you've probably seen these before. So, will this episode, special thingamajig, short, be gorgeous? Because that's the gimmick for the dude. We get a brief little, hey, here's what happened last time. But also, hey, here's Legend's kind of shtick. As we kind of enter in on them just, like, talking, communicating, and Legend is kind of going like, hey, you need to be a cool hero, dude. Like Saber and Geats. And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. You know what? I understand why he would go like, yo, Geats is a good Kamen Rider. Because Geats the whole time is like, playing about with fashion and all that kind of stuff and being very flamboyant and distracting. As we'll figure out, that's kind of his whole MO. We'll get to that in a moment. But there's a whole big thing. Bad guys come in, and Gotchard goes out to try and be a hero and fight them with, and Butler's there, and Butler goes like, okay, so I know the dude's kind of a little hard to get along with, but there's a reason for it, and he goes into Legend's backstory of how when he was a kid, they were being attacked by all these evil organization, and Decade came and saved him, and he kind of saw Decade, everything he was doing, as kind of like a, oh wow, it inspired him to be a hero. So Legend basically built up his entire life after Decade, explaining why everything is Decade themed, and ultimately it acts flamboyant, acts all this very big pomp and circumstance to basically funnel that organization to his world to protect others and protect other worlds, and just beat them there. And yo, that's a good Kamen Rider, you know? Hey, I can be annoying and just get them all to focus on me, and then they won't hurt other people. That's good hero stuff, right? But Gotchard learns this. Legend comes up ready to do the whole big henshin and fight. Back and forth with the bad guy of just what would be normal banter between them if this was a regular show. Everybody henshins. We have a fun big fight scene. Gotchard gets a couple. Legend forms and does the whole big thing. Legend transforms into Decade with the big old sash. And we get just a big old, I'm saying big a lot, but we get the finale, we get the Rider Kicks, team up, all that kind of stuff, and they go like, hey, Gotchard, you did good, you know what, I'm going to show that I trust you as a person, and trust you as a fellow hero, trust you as a Kamen Rider. We're all good. As Gotchard fades back into his regular universe, Kajiki is confused, and there's a moment with all that, and Gotchard just kind of reflects on the experience of all that kind of stuff, you know. And Legend just goes like, "Yo, Hotaro, we'll see you again later," you know. It's really fun. It was a really fun little two-parter, and it while I won't say it radically changes the understanding of the show like I would with Tycoon and Punk Jack for Geats, this does play into the themes of the show, because Hotaro does have to learn and gain that empathy for Legend, even though Legend is a very kind of standoffish character that's hard to empathize with immediately. Because the Legend backstory is kind of neat, and it makes you understand the character, it makes you understand why the actions he's taking are the actions he's taking. It was fun to see Decade and see how directly Legend has been inspired by him. I mean, creatively, it was just, hey, let's just take aspects of Decade and make a new writer, but, you know, it feels very much like for lack of a better way of describing it, Legend feels like a movie writer for Decade. If Decade was a current season, Legend feels like a movie writer. You know what I'm saying? Legend being a fancy distraction with the big old technique and tactic is really neat. Gotchard's other forms looked a lot cooler than the previous one. I think it was purely because of the giant cell phone pauldron. it was a little goofy, but the other ones we got this time were really neat, really cool, really interesting. Overall, this was a pretty fun little special series. Got to see some nice action. So yeah, go give both of them a shot if you haven't. Know what you can also give a shot? Subscribing to the channel, leaving a like and a comment. Follow me on social media platforms. Links are all in the description. Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. You can join my Discord where we talk about things, so on and so forth. And if you like these Kamen Rider Gotchard reviews and you want to see me talk about Ultraman Blazar, I have been doing just that on my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get an exclusive video every single week. Blazar is heading headlong into its ending, and yeah, no, this is going to continue. I'm just going to pick a new show. So, by the way, that's how that's going to work. But last but not least, comments. First up from Slime Beast. Kind of a golf moment for Gotchard this week. Anyway, Legend seems kind of like a prick. Part 2 better be an all-star reference like all that glitters is gold. Yeah, sports events taking the spot of Kamen Rider isn't nothing new. So it's not the end of the world. It's like, oh, we've been through this before. Whatever. And yeah, Legend being Kamen Rider Smash Mouth is just like, that's too funny of a joke. I've got to keep that in my head. Then next up from Fish Pop, Kiksa is said like Kaiser. All right, whatever. Just saw the first episode and it's neat. Thought, of course, the Legend driver is just a retooled Deca driver. Isn't there a Decade special coming, or did it already happen? I'm not sure if a Decade special is happening because we had Decade make a cameo in this episode. But yeah, just it being a retooled Decade driver is like, first off, cool reuse of parts. That's neat. Secondly, with the way they tell the story in the second part, it like totally makes sense of why he would base his tech off of Decade's tech, because he is entirely inspired by Decade. Like, that totally tracks. That makes so much sense. You know, it's really cool. It's really neat. I still need to watch Fives. I've seen like the first 2 episodes of Fives, and that's it. But I need to watch it. I need to watch a lot more early Heisei stuff, because the only things I know I've seen is Kiva and Den-O, and like 13 episodes of Kabuto. I watched 13 episodes of Kabuto just on a fucking train trip to Louisville, Kentucky? No. Was it Louisville, Kentucky? No, that was where it was going to be. No, it was somewhere in Carolinas. It was somewhere in, like, South Carolina. But whatever, that's a story for another goddamn day. Next up, from Permanently Paper, so far, I like the special and how the butler is named Butler. And I didn't really get much of the asshole superiority vibe from Legend. I got more of a mentor vibe from him. I see him trying to improve Gotchard like a mentor would, and I'm curious what the villains would be like in the special. Yeah, the butler is giving real dog named dog vibes, which is funny. That's always a funny gag. I think the reason why I kind of picked up on asshole vibes is, yes, he is trying to be a mentor, but if you're trying to be a mentor to someone who's not asking for it, that kind of makes you a little bit of a dickhead. Like, the best way I can describe it is, you don't go to an artist and just give them constructive criticism. They have to, like, ask you for it. Because if you just go to an artist and go like, hey, that looks a little weird, that's being a dickhead. That's generally the rule of thumb. Like, if it's unsolicited advice and mentorship and critique, then that's kind of being a little bit of a dickhead. That's, I think, the difference, you know? And in this episode, it is refined more of just like, yeah, he's trying, but he also recognizes Hotaro's good points and recognizes that, like, hey, I can trust you, we can work, you know, that kind of thing. So, like, asshole's too strong of a word. Dickhead is a little bit better, but he's just being kind of like a little bit of a, come on, dude. Come on. You're being that guy. That kind of thing. Nothing bad about the character. You need those kind of characters. And having those kind of characters be ultimately well-intentioned and good people is a perfectly fine and valid way of telling a story like this. It's good. And last up, from Esconde. This special sold me into wanting to get a Legend driver if I can find it for a good price. It's cool that it's kind of like a reverse decay driver in terms of motions used for the handles sides of the belt. Legend's personal card has got to be my favorite of all the cards we've seen so far. Love the Golden Lion. Unironically, Butler was my favorite part of the special. Love me a good dedicated hype man, and him assisting Hotro to transform with the Legend cards was great. While I wish Exene Mighty was better as a suit, the finisher was awesome. As for Legend himself, honestly, I respect the gall, ego, and dedication to his brand. Part of me really wishes his equipment shows up in the main series and gets used by Professor Minato, but that's just a selfish wish of mine. Yeah, the first time I saw that, I was like, hell yeah, reusing a decay driver. I kind of want all the card-based tension devices to get reused in this season. Like, reuse the decay driver, reuse Ryuki's, like, arm shield thing, reuse Blade's sword. Like, you can, like, ultimately, I don't want it to just be like, oh, just reuse all of it, but just, like, it's a fun callback. This was the first card season in how long? And, like, I'm not saying, like, cards are an ever-present staple of Kamen Rider. We haven't had them in forever. Like, we've been going on with motorcycles. I love how much motorcycles in this season. Don't stop that, please. But, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's fun. It'd be a nice callback. It's a nice reference. All that kind of stuff, you know? Yeah, I really hope they give Kazuki's actor a lot more wacky stuff to do, because he is nailing the weirdo conspiracy theorist regularly, and from the previews of the upcoming episode, he's going to be more integral to it. But him being the, like, Butler hype man, that was great. Yeah, again, that first suit, that shoulder pad, it's just big. It's just big. It's just really chonky. Not a super big fan. But the other suits, they look really, really good. I can definitely see this coming into the main show, but I'm not 100%. I can see it being more used in a movie. That's the thing. I can't see it being used in the main show, but I can see it being used in a movie. That's kind of where I'm feeling. Like, I would love to see Legend show back up in a movie. That's where I'm at, you know? But, yeah. The Legend special was good. Give it a watch. Give it a try. I've been Boingo Rider. This has been Gather Up Gotchard. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Have a good whatever time you watch this. And I shall see you next time. Thank you all my Patreon supporters, but a big thank you to Scott Fireseen, one of the baddest dudes.